The first thing we need to do to determine how many real zeros there are to actually graph this on our calculator. Real zeros will be ones that we can see crossing through the x-axis. This number up here, this x to the fourth, that tells you how many solutions we would have, or how many zeros. But there are imaginary zeros and there are real zeros, and real zeros are the only ones that you can actually see crossing through the x-axis. So in order to figure out the number of real zeros, I'm going to go to my calculator, and I'm going to go to y equals, and I'm going to type in that first function. So that was x to the fourth. And remember that when you put in an exponent, you have to press the right arrow to get out from the exponent. Plus x cubed, press the right arrow, minus 5x squared, plus x, and then minus 6. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the graph button. And I can see that this blue graph crosses through the x-axis 2 separate times. And it looks like it crosses right through at -3 and +2. So my answer here is going to be, I'm going to go back to OneNote, that there are 2 real zeros because I can see it cross through the x-axis twice. And those real zeros are at -3 and +2. Now because those cross through at exact numbers, I'm not going to go through the process of the left bound, right bound business. One thing you can do is, if you're pretty sure that they're crossing through at nice, neat numbers, what you can do is go to your table and you can kind of double check. So here's -3, and I can see that the y value is 0, so that confirms that it is a 0. And then same thing here with +2. I have +2 and then 0. So I don't need to go through the left bound, right bound stuff because I can see it right here on the table. And it was pretty clear from the graph that it crossed through right at those numbers. All right, so that takes care of number 1. Now for number 2, this equation has 3 solutions, but I don't know how many of them are real. So in order to figure that out, I'm going to go back to my calculator. And I'm going to clear out my previous problem, and I'm going to type in the new one, which is x cubed minus 2x. Oops, and see, I made that mistake where I forgot to push the right arrow to get out of the exponent. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my graph, and I can see that it crosses 3 distinct times. So that means I have 3 real zeros. So I'm going to go back to this right here, and I'm going to write that we have 3 real zeros. Now I can see that one of them crosses right through at 0, 0, and if we wanted to double check that, I could go to my table, and here I can see 0, 0, but I cannot see on my table, and I would have to estimate to kind of figure out where those other 2 zeros are. So I am going to have to do the left bound, right bound thing for those other 2 zeros. So I'm going to go back and write down, I know one of them crosses right through at 0, and then the other 2 we're going to do the left bound, right bound thing. So I'm going to go to second trace, and I'm going to choose option 2. Now I'm going to move the left cursor, and I want to move it until I cross through the x-axis. Okay, so now I am to the left of where it crosses. I'm going to press enter because this is my left bound. And then I want my right bound, so I'm going to go to the right until I'm above the x-axis and press enter again. And then I'm going to press enter one more time for my guess, and it tells me that my 0 is at -1.4. So I'm going to go back to OneNote, and I'm going to write down -1.4. And then I have to do that process one more time to find the other 0. So I'm going to do second trace again, and then I'm going to choose option 2. And now I have to get my cursor all the way over here, and I'm going to put my cursor so that it looks like it's almost right on top of where the 0 is, and then I'm going to move it to the left, and that's how I know it's my left bound. Press enter, and then I'm going to move it back to where it crosses the x-axis, and now I'm going to push to the right, so now I know that's my right bound. And then enter one more time, and this tells me that my 0 is at +1.4, so it's the exact same number but the positive. So then those are my 3 real zeros.